All right, welcome everyone to March RightTool Users webinar. We are going to want to do this once a month, but we're not sure if we're going to have new features as fast as once a month. But if we are at least releasing enough things once a month, we'll do this. If not, at least once every 2 months. I think it's a healthy thing to connect to our users and kind of let them know what's going on, what the new features that are coming out, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm joined here by the developer of RightTool, which is Mark. And Mark, any fun things that have happened in the last month of developing RightTool?
Um, are you asking what features we've made? Because I think we have the
No, I
list
would say
there.
I would just say just talk about like any fun or surprising things that you run into in the development process in the past. I would say January and February.
I think the most interesting thing is I think QuickBooks is posturing to make some more changes to the site. I think we all remember what happened when they changed what was it, like deposits and journal entries for how that works. I think they're planning on doing that sometime later, and you can kind of see the beginnings of that
Yep.
in the code behind everything.
Yep.
So that was interesting. And then
And these
obviously,
changes are not very visible to the user. That's the
no,
other piece. It's only sort of back-end changes.
yeah, exactly. It's not
Yeah,
a huge deal in terms of trying to fix things up for RightTool. It's just every once in a while you have to kind of keep your eyes out for when things don't work exactly the way you're expecting them to.
exactly. Yeah, and we did have an emergency where I think journal entries were broken and you had to like kind of fix it overnight, that sort of thing. Interesting is those fixes are pretty transparent to the user, which is kind of interesting. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through. First of all, I kind of want to get you guys accustomed to, if you're wondering what new features does RightTool have, to go into the Accounting Pro Tools website and on the RightTool release notes. You can access that simply by clicking on the version number that you have right under RightTool. Like you'll say free version 1 point something or pro version 1 point something, whatever it is. If you click on that, that will take you straight into the new feature list. And if you go back in the history, we've added features, I would say in the cadence of once a week. And we might slow that down, or we might do more fixes and tweaks to features rather than actual new features. But I do want to go over all the new things that we have added in January. I just want to go through that. We did a webinar on the 16th, and that covered everything up to January 18th. So we're going to start with the features that were added from January 16th forward. Okay. So we're going to start by talking about the reports, the reporting enhancements that we've done. So this is for the preset reports. So when you run a report, and I'm going to go into the settings here now, and I'm going to go into Report Pro, and I'm going to turn off all the features that have to do with reports, and we'll kind of start with that. I'm going to click Save and Refresh, and then I'm going to run a profit and loss report. And I want to kind of dive deep into the little things that we have done on reports that are going to matter to you. So let's go run a profit and loss. And right now, let's see, let's do a quick refresh, and let me just make sure that all the reporting features are off. Let's just turn them all off one more time and save and refresh. I want to make sure there's no red buttons, no sign of RightTool doing anything here. Okay. So first thing that we've done, that we did early January, is to fix the presetting of notes in the bottom of the report. So right now, with regular QuickBooks, you can click on Add Notes and you can put hello or whatever, and then that would be your permanent note. But if you leave that report and you come back, you have to click on Add Note and add that note again. If you save the report, if you customize the report, then that's fine. Then you run the report and the note will be fixed in there. However, some people have fixed things that they always want to see there, like unaudited or prepared by Hector or management use only or whatever piece of information you wanted to show up every time you run a report without having to click on edit notes and add the note in there. So what we've done here is when we turn on report presets button, and the other thing that we did is, and this is unique to just the report preset, is because there's so many things on the report preset, we made it hide when the feature is turned off. So right now, if you turn it on, all the sub settings show up. If you turn it off, the sub settings don't show up. Right now, I'm just going to focus on the printable note and the internal footnote, and that's something that we fixed we've been fixing this year, is how to differentiate the difference between the two. So the printable footnote would be something like for uh, management use only. And then maybe on internal footnote, I'm going to put here created by Hector. And this is basically what this means, right? So if I write something on their internal footnote, only me, the user that looks at the report, can actually see that. But if I put something on printable note, is what shows up in a PDF or what the customer essentially sees when you export the report. Now I'm going to go ahead and save the settings, and I'm going to go back into the profit and loss. And currently it says it has nothing in it because I refreshed. So now I'm going to click on the Run Presets button. And I think we added a shortcut to this, Control Shift R. Is that what it is? You remember what it was? Was it Control Shift R or?
Oh,
Uh,
I am not the shortcut expert.
yeah, yeah. We'll go back. We'll check it out here. Let's see. So my shortcuts are on. I'm gonna go into my shortcuts section. I think it's worth mentioning anyway because sometimes I forget what the specific shortcuts are. So let's see which is my shortcut. So Control Shift R is the one that should be triggering run report. Okay. So if I click on run presets right there on the top left, or click Control Shift R,
I
it would
think
be.
Control Shift E is the one that actually runs the preset feature. The Control Shift R just does the run report.
Let me see. Oh, okay, you're right. You're right. Sorry. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So great point. So this button that says Run Report, that gets triggered by Control Shift R. So that means if I change any of these things here, right, and I don't want to click on Run Report, I hit Control Shift R. Now you would say, why in the world would you not want to click that? That takes half a second. Well, Control Shift R also refreshes the report. I guess that's the point that it does. So there's R for Run Report and R for refresh. Now Control Shift E is the one that runs the preset. So I'm going to do Control Shift E, and that's basically the same thing as me actually clicking on that button right there. And then when I go down, you see there where it says for management use only, and then you see down here it says created by Hector. And then when I go printed this, when I go print it, then I'm going to see management use only, but I'm not going to see created by Hector. So that's really what the point is. It's pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory, but that's essentially the one thing that we fixed early January. Okay, so let's go back into the release notes and let's go to the next thing. And if there's any questions or comments, Mark, just ask them out loud so I don't miss the boat here. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Control Shift K, that's an interesting one. So essentially, what we've done is if you are an accountant, basically that means that you have this client switcher here. If to switch clients, you have to click on on the actual client's name, and then you have to select one of your clients. Or to go back to practice, even though it's 2 clicks, we added a keyboard shortcut for that. So that's Control Shift K, and that takes you back into your QBOA, your QuickBooks Online Accountant client list. So Control Shift K sends you back to your client list or back to practice. Okay. All right. So let's go back into that. Okay. So those are the only things that were added on the 20th. Let's go over to the 23rd. And okay, so one thing that's really worth mentioning is that we added the ability to turn off the sidebar. And that's a strange one because really honestly, you don't want to do this for the most part, but there might be situations where you're like, you know what? I don't want that sidebar, even if it's collapsed. I don't even want it there. Okay. But I still want the right tool features to be activated, and any features that don't require the sidebar could still be activated, like anything that's built into the UI of QuickBooks that we modified or enhanced the experience, that will still work. Now, in order to see that, I have to click on the little puzzle icon on the top of the screen, and then I have to find my RightTool app, and I happen to have two of them. Give me a second. Let me just make sure there's no confusion here. I'm going to turn one off. Sorry, I just happen to have the beta version that we're testing, and if we have time, we could talk about some of the features that we're working on that are sort of half working at the moment. So we're gonna click on the little puzzle button, and then we're gonna click on the little pin to pin or bring up the icon for the extension. So in this case, I'm just gonna bring right tool and disable the other ones. And then now up here in the top, you see the right tools button. So if you click up there on the top right, you see a right tools button. And now from here, you have a couple of interesting shortcuts. We have release notes, essentially takes you back into this page that we're looking at. So that's another place you can go to release notes. Then we have reload extension if nothing's working. So I just, generally speaking, if something is, if it's acting up, if the extension is not opening and closing, if you're clicking on it and it's not working, and this could happen because something with an update. It could be a Chrome update, could be a phone extension update, it could be something quirky with a website happening. If you find your right tool not reacting, just click on reload extension and it will sort of fix itself. The other thing that we added here, this is not related to right tool, but you've heard of the expression clear your cache and cookies and try again, or try in incognito mode. So what we've done here is we built in a clear cache and cookies. I think it's just cache, not the cookies, right, Mark? Is it just the cache and the cookies, or both?
Yeah, it's just the cache.
Yeah. So clear the cache, and basically it just cleans up all the sort of internal memory that your browser has been keeping for that session, and sort of resets. And that clearing cache does a lot of interesting things. Like, for example, if you had your chart of accounts set up to 300 lines and you clear the cache, it'll default to 50. That's the default QuickBooks mode. And this is one of the things that we've discovered by just sheer accident, really, that are the things that are sort of in the cache. So that's the type of thing that you want to do. And again, this is just when you're not your right tool, but when your QuickBooks Online or any other website is acting up, that's where you want to do that. So it clears the entire browser's cache, not just QuickBooks Online. It's not targeted cache. And then if you are seeing free up there, and you know that you have a pro account because you paid the $50 a month or whatever it is, then you want to click on Pro Login, and that takes you to the Right Tool Pro Login. And I strongly suggest that you use it that way while you have Right Tool open, while you have QuickBooks Online open, and then you're going to put your user ID and password and sign in. Now, we have recently integrated sign in with Intuit, right? So if your Intuit ID matches your Right Tool email ID, if you sign in with Intuit, it would be one seamless process. You're not even signing in into Right Tool. You're signing in into Intuit, and Intuit is connecting to your Right Tool account and is connecting them. Now, what we're working on that I don't think we have completed yet is the ability for someone that already has a login, that hasn't signed in through Intuit, to add your Intuit login sort of post sign up. Or Mark,
no, that's actually in there. It's just that you don't see it if you've already connected. So
okay, but I can't disconnect it now. That's the thing. We don't have the
ability. That's the thing we need to add, is the ability to disconnect it. You can disconnect it from the app area, but not from
right. So but it's app area of the QBOA account, I guess I would say in this case. Right. Okay. So let me just check that out for a second. So if I go into apps and I go to my apps, here this is where you're saying that it will be connected?
Yes, it should be in there somewhere. But okay, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. No. I think we have to build in. I think we have to build in the disconnection capability. It's not a really big deal for most people. A long story short, in the long run, when what we want is to make this like drop dead easy for users to go, hey, I have an Intuit ID, I have a pro account, I don't want to remember my Right Tool user ID and password. I mean, of all the user ID and passwords you have to remember, Right Tool is the most inconsequential one. But you need to know your Intuit ID to log into QBO anyway. So that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to link the two together. So when you log in and you have a pro account and you refresh, it will say pro there instead of free, and then all the pro features will be enabled. Okay, so now you see it says Pro 1.009.6, which is the latest version that has been released. Okay, all right, so that's enough with that. I think that's enough we want to mention. Then starting on the 27th, we added a whole bunch of new features. The big boy here, like the big release, is our deleting features. I don't think we've done this in a public webinar, Mark, where we've actually shown people how to delete things in QBO, right? I don't think we have.
Have we not? No, we had to. showing
Okay,
that.
well, anyway, so that like to me, if you're a pro user or if you're in the fence of deciding whether you should remain a free user or be a pro user, and by the way, we love our pro users. We have absolutely nothing against our free users. The free users is part of our business model too, okay? Because we are going to run ads, or we're running ads, and that's going to be part of our business model. So we are welcoming both free users or pro users. We're not frowning upon anyone that didn't pay for the tool. However, if you want to truly start seeing the value of what RightTool can do, you want to look at the delete features. And we have delete features in the register, and we have delete features in bank feeds. I believe that's the two places where we have deletes, and we're
Mhm.
thinking about where else we can add delete because we've polled our users, and apparently deleting crap the customers did is the number one hobby of accounting professionals that use RightTool. So let's go through the delete features. I'm going to show you both in one shot. I'm going to show you the register delete features right here where it says delete and unreconciled shortcuts, and then delete and unreconciled in batch. So we have both of these. And then I'm also going to go to reconcile. I'm going to turn everything off but delete and void. So essentially all I'm doing is turning on all of the void and delete features across both uh, the bank register and bank and not bank feed, sorry, the reconcile
Yeah.
screen. Yeah. Okay. So let's go into reconcile first. So we're gonna start. I'm gonna start with reconcile because this is a crowd favorite here. This is like the place where most people want to execute that delete. Okay. So you're gonna reconcile one of these accounts. Let me pick an account that maybe hasn't been reconciled. I'll put here ending balance 0, today's date, and I'm going to go to continue. All right, so I'm in the reconcile screen and I have a bunch of transactions in front of me. Do I? Okay, I happen to pick the one that doesn't have transactions in front of me. So let's do another one here. Let's go to reconcile. This is my play file, and I can never remember which accounts I have reconciled already and which ones I have not. So let's
Well, and
grab
it
one.
doesn't help that by the time we get done showing off this feature, we will have probably deleted every
Deleted
single
everything. Yeah,
item.
correct. That's very true too. Okay, so in the reconcile screen, I am going to delete some transactions on the fly. So let's just imagine for a minute, and let me just see if we can use a good example here.
This is kind of exciting. I've never been able to see this little pop-up that says, why aren't some of these transactions marked as
Yeah,
cleared
and it
before?
doesn't close, which is kind
Yeah,
of
so
interesting
now I
too.
can actually fix this problem
Yeah,
because I know
exactly.
the people in Canada have been having this, and
Yeah,
it
that they can't
was
get rid of it. Yeah, they can't get rid of it. Correct. So let's say, for example, that I'm going to reconcile. Let's go up to February. Let's do February 28th, 2022. Just make it a little bit simple here. And let's say I'm selecting all my transactions, and I'm trying to make this as realistic as possible. And let's say that this ending balance matched here. Just gonna do. I'm just trying to replicate exactly how it would feel in the real world here. Um, and so we're here, and that would be a negative balance, of course. Okay, then we'll be here. Okay, and perfect. And we're down to 0. But what happens if I am not down to 0 and I have transactions that don't belong there? So I'll just quickly create a check from this account. Let's say this is account 1250, and we'll pick a random payee name here. We'll pick a random category. We'll put a random dollar amount. Okay, and then we'll do save and close. So now we're sitting in this screen, and let me just make sure I pick the right date on that. So where is my check? So now let's pick let's do 2021, something like that. Okay. Now that we might have more questions about whether or not we should be deleting something from the previous year, but that's a totally different question to deal with. So we're sitting on a reconcile window. We're like, okay, beautiful. I got this reconciliation ready to go. I just want to get rid of this transaction or several of them. And this is kind of the point here. So if you want to get rid of a single transaction without right tool, you would have to click on edit, and then you would have to click on more, and you would have to click on delete. So that's 3 clicks. Okay. So what we've done here is you click on it once, and now it shows up next to the cancel edit save button. Now you see an actual void button and a delete button. And keep in mind that not all transactions are avoidable. That's a QBO issue. But if I click on delete and I just click on delete once, I got my hands up in the air, RightTool is actually doing all the clicks for me, and it's saving me that time. Now, because deleting it's a little bit sensitive, this actually stops at the "Are you sure you want to delete?" uh, um, box. So you still have to now press yes. Now there's a really nifty feature, so I'm not gonna execute that. It's a really nifty feature, and let me open up the settings here, where we can actually auto confirm that delete. So if I really don't really want to be asked that, "Are you sure?" we can turn it on with the auto confirmed. Let's turn this on here. We can turn on the auto confirmed, and then once I execute that delete button, we're going to do this one more time. Wait until it finishes refreshing. Okay, and we're going to reconcile. I believe it was a different account altogether, of course.
Yeah.
Why?
Took
Yeah.
you back to
No, I had both
okay,
open. I
never
had
mind.
both open. Okay, so when I go and delete this one, when I click on delete, now it opens up the edit button. It presses more and presses yes in my behalf. So that's a little bit nuanced there, and it's really up to you on whether one thing works better than the other. But if you have multiple transactions in there, so I'm just going to enter multiple transactions in here. I'll grab this and put another category here. Let's just put $100. I'm going to save a new, and then I'll go back to it really quick here. And let's date this 2021. And let's do a copy. Yes. And we'll date this one here. And we'll do save and new. Hate that I have to do that multiple times, but I'm going to create several copies here because I want to show you what happens if there's more than one, essentially. Okay, and then we'll put a different dollar amount here to add some fun and variability to the mix here. And then we'll grab the other one, that's this one right here, and we'll bring this one back too. Okay, and then save and close. All right, so now we should be back now to see multiple transactions. So if you have multiple to deal with, instead of clicking on each one, delete, 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 we have keyboard shortcuts that can do this. So I'm going to click on the first one, and then I'm going to hit Control Shift backslash. The backslash is the one next to the right bracket, which is right under your delete button, right under your Enter Shift, that's on the right side of the keyboard. So not the forward slash, that's under the question mark, the backslash right next to the right bracket. And we did that one because that's the farthest away from Control Shift, so to make it the most possibly inconveniencing button to press, because this delete will delete without warning. So I'm going to hit Control Shift backslash, and what it does is it executes the delete and it auto confirms for you. Okay, you can also do Control Shift, I believe it's D, and it does the delete without the auto confirm. So that one will be stuck in this screen. So then you have to press enter to do one more. So now you have the option to do either one, Control Shift Delete one by one, and then hit yes, or Control Shift backslash. Okay. All right. So I think that's enough with reconcile deleting. Let's go into bank register deleting. Now, bank register deleting, to me, it's more powerful than the reconcile. The challenge is that most users make the decision to delete in the reconcile window, which is why they want to see the button there. But if you are slick enough in QBO to understand that you can literally run a report of unclear, not a report, sorry, you can run a filtered list of unclear transactions from the register. You can batch delete from here. So for example, let's say I'm going to come in here and go do reconcile status and put not reconciled. And then I'm going to put the date, and I'm going to put this custom. I'm going to put this from the beginning of time. Actually, I can't really do that. Let's just do all dates. It'll be easier. So we're just going to do uh, not reconciled. And let's say we're only going to look at, let's say, checks. And I click on apply. So now this will filter and show me only checks that have not been reconciled. Or I can remove the check filter, and it'll show me every transaction that hasn't been reconciled. So let's say I know that this bank has been reconciled up to 12/31/2022, and I see a whole bunch of transactions that I just don't want to see there. And yes, I can sit there in the reconcile screen and do the one by one or the shortcut. But through here, if I'm using this filter correctly, all I have to do is click on batch, and then a little box shows up. There's a magical right toolbox, and then I can click on the first one. And something that's kind of cool is I can hold the shift key and just keep clicking down. If I want to like fine tune the selection with my keyboard, so shift click down or shift click up, basically it progressively checks them. Or I can go all the way down, all the way down, all the way down, hold the shift key and just click on the last one, and it clicked everything all at the same time. So just uh, uh, all around shift clicking galore, which is one of our favorite things to do as a as a as power users. Okay, so there's all the transactions that are visible on the screen, and then and again, this is not all of them. Period. This is visible on the screen because right now we only have 50 showing, and you got to make sure that you're acutely aware of that. That if you're only showing 50, the most you can delete is 50 at a time. If you want to delete all of them, including the ones over that 50, then you have to expand the list of transactions you can see in the register first prior to doing your shift clicking or your select all. Okay.
Yeah.
Then at this
And
point, I
one
can
thing
just,
to note,
yeah.
by the way, is that I don't know why, but it does work a little bit better when you don't have one line turned on. I don't know why that is, but
Okay.
I mean, it's not a huge deal. I'm just
It,
saying
but it works in both.
it works in both. It's
It
just
works.
that for some reason, if you have things like sorted in a certain way, I think it messes up something with one line only. I don't know why.
So you're recommending to do this with two line instead of one
Yeah.
line. Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. All right. So we're going to turn on the two line and select them all. And then we're going to click on delete. And then it's going to say, hey, warning, we're about to delete 50 transactions. So we have the warning. You know exactly how many transactions are, and you know how much uh, total dollar amount we're deleting. So at that point, you can make your decision whether you want to move forward or not. And keep in mind that if there's a tax payment, like a sales tax payment or a payroll tax payment, or any linked transaction, like a payment link to a deposit, a deposit linked to a payment, or multiple payments, it's just not gonna work. Like it'll just skip through it. So then I'm gonna click on OK, and then just leave my hands up. Maybe I can go get some coffee or whatever, and just let all the transactions delete. If you want to stop it, just you can X out of your browser, and or you can hit refresh. So that's just deleting away. And no, we can't do it any faster. This is as fast as we can do it. This is just the nature of the beast here. Okay. The only thing is sometimes for whatever reason the one in the top doesn't delete. We're still trying to troubleshoot why it selects everything but the top one. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
the,
know why. It's a thing in general. It will sometimes skip. Like as you can
they'll
see, the
skip one.
second
Yeah,
one also
yeah,
is skipped. There's random times it just skips deleting one. I think it's because the system needs to catch up with the speed of which we're deleting.
correct,
Um,
correct. Yeah, and
and
we
so
can
you might
add
have
more
to go through
delay.
it twice.
And we can add more delay. We can add more delays to this, but not sure if we want to. And so this is the only part I tell you. It's not a flawless system. Like it literally missed four. Okay, and this is what we are right now. Okay, we are where it'll miss a couple. But the nice thing is it will keep it's smart enough to keep them selected for you to go, oh, okay, it missed them, and then just click on delete and just click OK, and then it should work on that second pass. It just has to do with how the browser is refreshing and how RightTool is reacting to it. And if we add more delays to prevent this issue, we slow down the whole process. So hopefully you're not deleting 50 transactions at a time. You're doing maybe 5, 8, 10, and it should be okay for the most part. Okay. And we have a question here from Diane is, can I go work in another tab while this is happening? No, I don't recommend that. Keep your focus on. I understand that you want to just let it be, but remember, your right tool is manipulating the browser as if you are the user. It's kind of like a bot. It's kind of like an assistant. Okay. And in theory, each tab should be independent from each other, but I would not move the mouse while anything is being automated. And Mark, if you have any comments on that, I'll take them, but that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, my thing is that it should work if you're working in different tabs. I guess I can test that out a little bit to see exactly how that affects things. The only thing I will say is that if you're deleting stuff and then you're working in another tab and you happen to click onto something that's actively being deleted,
Oh, that's gonna
uh,
go crazy. Yeah,
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 it's going to be unhappy with you.
yeah, yeah. I would
Um,
say don't. I would say yeah. My recommendation is don't move out another tab. Just wait the 2 minutes that it takes or whatever it is. Okay.
yeah, it's a
Uh,
good time to take a restroom break or
yeah,
get
correct.
some water.
Exactly.
Usually by the time you're back, it'll be done.
All right, the next thing I want to showcase here is the export reports to CSV. This is going to be a crowd favorite once people start taking advantage of this. A lot of people kind of don't know of its existence, so you kind of have to show it. So I'm going to go into settings, go into report, and I'm going to turn on export reports to CSV. And there's a couple of interesting subsettings here, which we'll discuss in a second. But for now, it's going to be just turn this on. And we're in Pro world, by the way, and we're going to go back and forth in Pro and free and that sort of thing because we know the vast majority of you attending this webinar live are going to be using Pro. Uh, After we post this into YouTube, there's going to be a lot more like free users. But so far, we've covered pro features. These are pro features. Okay, so let's go to export reports to CSV, and let me explain what that is. So I'm in a P&L, for example, or a balance sheet or whatever, and we snuck in a little button here that says export to CSV. It's in red to differentiate between the default export to Excel and export to PDF and export to Google Sheets with our QBO Advanced, but now it says export to CSV. So we click on export to CSV. You see down there a file downloaded really quick. When I click on that, it opens the CSV. And why is this a good thing? Is because if you ever export it to Excel, you know you have to delete the top lines and the bottom line that has a comment and has a merge cell and the left column. I mean, there's just a lot of cleaning up to get the report that you want. Now, a lot of people don't want to see these headers here. Like this stuff is sort of useless, especially if you're going to take this report and do like like a pivot table or something like that. Okay, so if we do that, we go back into the settings and we're going to turn on exclude report headers. So when we do this, I'm going to save this, and when we exclude the report headers, we'll do the exact same export, so the same action. We click on the export button and then we click on export to CSV. But then when you see that CSV open up, you're going to notice that the headers are not there anymore. Okay, so the total header is still there, but the company name and that sort of thing is not there. And this is particularly useful. We're doing like a detailed type of report. So for example, let's say I were to run a transaction list report type of report. So let's do a transaction list. Let's say we do vendor transaction list. I guess that could work. So we'll run the vendor transaction list. And by the way, the vendor transaction list is not a built-in report into QBO. That's actually what we're calling a hidden report. It's a report that I found by accident. Let's call it that. So if you want to run this report, you search it in the RightTool bar or you find it whichever way you found it. I'm just showing you a detailed type of report. Then I'm going to click on export to CSV, and if the headers are removed, I'm going to bring this back here to the front. Now I have a super clean report that I can run a pivot table of. Okay, so I know a lot of people are Excel pivot table fans, or they want to play with the data and they don't want to sit there and again delete headers and that sort of thing. Now this is something that only works this only works in RightTool Pro, and this only works for the user that has RightTool Pro. So like a RightTool free user or a no RightTool user won't have access to this stuff. You have to be on RightTool Pro, and it happens when you do this inside QuickBooks Online while RightTool Pro is activated. Because a lot of people see that little export to CSV button in the natural QuickBooks Online window, and they feel, oh, wait a second, so that's going to be across all my clients' files? No, not going to be there at all. That's only when RightTool is open. Okay. All right, so that covers that, and okay, that's enough with this. Let's go to the next
Oh, dang, I
release.
forget how many things we've changed. God, the
I
months
I
just bleed together, don't they?
I
Holy
I
cow.
I, I know, and that's why that's why I particularly like keeping the release notes like this, because it kind of, when you go and you see it, you sort of realize, how much work we've put into this thing. Anyway, then on February 7th we did a whole bunch of bug fixes, which at this point not relevant anymore. And we also added a refresh all tabs. So if you have people, if you are a managed tab user, where you have a lot of tabs open because that's your style. Maybe you kind of work like me where you like to have multiple tabs. Let me just open another tab here. when you like to have multiple tabs of QuickBooks Online. Sometimes you want to refresh all tabs in one shot. There's a little button here that says refresh all. And that's really cool if you have reports, if you have screens that have been updated and you just want to refresh everything. So you click on refresh all and click OK, and it sends a master refresh to all your tabs. If you switch from one QuickBooks Online file to the other QuickBooks Online file, you switch through clients, and for whatever reason the refresh all didn't work, because it's supposed to work automatically, that refresh all button is there. By the way, this is available in the free edition. So like we just went back for a second, this is a free edition tool, and you can also do it with a keyboard shortcut. So Control Shift T triggers the refresh all. So the refresh from the Manage Tabs button and Control Shift T to trigger refresh, both available in the free edition. All right. So, and by the way, when I say available in the free edition, it means it's available in both free and pro, just to clarify that. Okay. So the next thing worth talking about here is we added the ability to batch delete inside the AP and the AR register. So same concept that we've been talking about earlier, right? So deleting transactions, that haven't been cleared or whatever. However, there might be situations where let's go in a let's go back to the register here. There might be situations where you want to delete invoices. Invoices were created, it was an error, whatever it happens to be, and you want to delete those invoices. So I can go into my accounts receivable register, and this is sort of a backwards way that we have given people the ability to delete invoices. And then from here, if any of these filters work, and unfortunately the filters are not very useful in an AR register or an AP register, but for whatever reason, let's see that there are invoices here that you want to delete. Maybe you can identify them because they have an open balance. I mean, again, the filters here don't work really well, unfortunately. But if you identify them from here based on date or based on open balance, whatever, I can go to batch and I can select maybe these two, and then these have been paid, so I'm not going to mess with those, and then come to this one. It would be nice if we could just see the open invoices. And Mark, by the way, would that be impossible to do, to just have a filter that says only show open balance or something like that?
Um, yeah, that's probably something we could do.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay. All right. So something that doesn't have an open balance of zero, I guess. So we got three transactions here. I want to delete. These are invoices. I just want to open it for context. So these are these type of invoices that haven't been paid. They're old, whatever it happens to be. So I'm going to click on batch. Click on the which were they? I think it was the first two. Let's go up here. So first two, and then let's say this one, and then I just click on delete, and it says, hey, you're about to delete three transactions. Same warning as before. Click OK, and then we just let it do its thing. Okay, and it just does it all for you automatically. Now, of course, if you have a payment attached to the invoice, you're going to have a different warning. And of course, you should not be deleting invoices that have payments associated with it. So there we go. So it's batch deleting invoices. It will work the same thing with the bill. So if I go into accounts payable, let's go into the accounts payable register, and I open up, maybe I want to get rid of three bills that have open balances. And let's say this bill payment as well. And I would be very careful with deleting payments, but I can click on delete, click OK, and I haven't deleted a bill payment. Let's see how it reacts. Okay, yeah, no issues. Okay, that's pretty cool. All right, and then the rest of the bills should be deleted. But for some reason, when I deleted the bill payment, Mark, it stopped the batch. So I'm sure if
Oh,
yeah. So
okay. Yeah, I
we can
know why that's doing that.
okay,
That's
we can
fine.
look at that. But let's just do so for now. Just delete uh, just bills for now. So let's do delete here and click OK, and then we'll probably turn around with the fix to that really quick. It
Yeah.
must be one of the pop-ups that's causing that, I assume. But let's go through so these are all the bills, just bills being deleted in batch. So that's happening. And
Interesting.
then, yeah, so the bills work fine. Just when you mix in a bill payment in the mix, there must be a pop-up somewhere that RightTool doesn't know or understand and causes it to stop. So we'll look at that too. Again, still making this. We're developing these things way too fast sometimes, and they have little tiny glitches there, but they do fundamentally work, which is weird.
Someone also mentioned the fact that we should add a void to this.
Avoid,
Uh, it
yeah,
makes me. It makes me
Yeah,
laugh whenever I see that because there's just always that debate of delete versus void. So
void. And something else that's worth mentioning is bills don't void. Okay, it's just a fundamental problem we have with QuickBooks Online. There's no void button for bills. So even if we were to add a batch void to bills, it just wouldn't work. So that's why we've kind of put the batch voiding into the back burner for now. Okay. All right. I think that's it. That covers that. Um, Expert to CSV, we already covered that. Okay, let's do jump to. So we've added a feature called jump to location, really, that's what it's called. It's inside QBO user experience, and I'm just gonna turn everything off. It's called jump to locations. And originally we had jump to chart of account location, then we had jump to in the customers, then we had jump to in the vendors, then we had jump to in the receipts window. And essentially, we're like, you know what? This jump to functionality works pretty much the same across the board. So might as well just do a single jump to locations button. And basically, what that does is, and we'll just test it in customers and vendors because that might be the sort of a newer place where you may not have seen it before. But if I'm sitting, if I'm going into the customers and I go into one specific customer, let's say I go into this specific customer, and I'm going through and I'm doing things in this page. I'm going through and I'm cleaning. I'm clicking on one of them and making modifications. I'm changing the location, the class, category, whatever. And then when I click on save and close, one of the challenges that people kind of hate is that you lose the place in your scroll. So there's a lot of transactions, that you have scroll through this stuff. It just kind of gets cut. So the jump to last or jump to last location basically sends you back to the last place that you clicked on, kind of letting you know, hey, this is where you were. Okay. So that's pretty neat. And that works in customers, in the customer detail report. It works in the vendor detail report. It works in receipts. That's another really interesting place too, because I believe that one in particular was a user request. Don't remember the name of the user. I don't know if you remember it, Mark, but there was one particular, so Lorraine or something.
Loretta.
Loretta, yep, yeah, I
Yeah.
remember. So same thing. So I'm down here. I'm doing stuff in this screen, and I go and I review this transaction, and I make a change, whatever it is, and I'm not like doing the one at the very top, and I do a save and close. Once you do that, you lose your place in line. If you go to jump to last, it'll highlight exactly what's the last place that you were in
Yeah.
before the transaction disappears. Okay. All right, so that's jump to, and let's see what else we've added in there. Okay, mark all button. That's an interesting one. So
A very niche.
yeah, very niche. Yeah, good point. So when you were in a books review, and some people have told us, hey, I'm in books review, and I like to use books review, and that's a whole nother discussion. It's like who in the world uses books review? Some do,
Actually,
some
quite a
don't.
few people seem to use
I
QuickBooks
know.
Review.
I know they do. But anyway, for the people that use book review and they want to go in there and they want to mark this as done, and then go to the next one and click on mark this as done. Essentially, what we've done is we're gonna turn that on. That's on the accountant,
Yeah, it's under there.
and then mark. I'm gonna click save. So in there, and then once they go back into books review, where are you, Mr. Books Review? Okay, then there's a button. There should be a button up here that shows up that says mark all that's done. Okay, you see right there, mark all done or mark. So you click on that and it'll go in your behalf and mark everything done. Again, that's a little tiny niche thing, but if you want to mark anything by itself in batch, you can do that. There would also be it would be nice to have mark all as to do, but again,
Yeah.
I'm just giving Mark more work, I guess. Okay. The next one, let me see, under feature list. Okay, so that's it for that one. Now let's talk about the last two big releases that we've had where we've actually done quite a bit of interesting things. First, the first one I want to showcase is an overall shift click fix. So we noticed, and we've had many people tell us, is a lot of the screens are missing the ability to shift click. And those screens we identified is the reclassify screen, the receive payment screen, the bank feeds matching screen, and the deposit screen. So I'm gonna turn that off, do save and close, and I'm gonna go through a very frustrating experience, which is being in one of those screens. So I'm going to go into the reclassify transaction screen, one that should have shift click. Again, why does QuickBooks do what they do? Sometimes it's a big mystery to all of us. But let's say I'm in this screen and I'm looking at a whole bunch of transactions, and I want to reclassify a bunch of transactions in one shot. Okay, so generally, like logic dictates, it says, hey, I'm going to grab this one, and then I'm going to hold the shift key, and I'm going to click on the next one, and all of them should select together. In this screen, for whatever reason, that functionality doesn't work. So if we turn this on, and this is a bit anticlimactic because you really can't see it happening while I click on the screen, but I guess there could be, I guess I could find ways to make this a little bit more exciting, um, but you pick any category that has a whole bunch of things in it. Let's see. Let me just grab one that has a lot of stuff in it. There you go. And let's say I want to grab this group of things. So I click on the first one, then I'm going to hold the shift key in my keyboard, and then I'm going to click on the next one. There you go. Okay, they all did at the same time. See, I find creative ways to show you how the shift click works. So I basically held the shift click, clicked on the next one, and it works. So, and we fixed this throughout. I have 4 screens. We fixed it in the deposit screen. So now you can shift click here. This is a big one too. So I'm gonna hold that one, hold the shift key and click here, and it just grabs that group. We also fixed it in the bank matching screen, and that's kind of an odd one, but sometimes it's useful too. So let's say I'm here in a transaction and I select this one and I want to click on find match, and there's a bunch of things in that find match screen. I'm gonna go back. Let's go back to, oh geez, don't you hate, don't you love when that happens, where that doesn't work? So let's see.
Interesting.
Yeah, not interesting. It's torture, really, what it is. All right, so let's see. Okay, there's a whole bunch of things there. So say I want to select, a couple of them. So I click on one, hold the shift click, hold the shift key, click, and then a whole bunch at the same time. So in the matching, and there was one more. Do you remember which was the other one?
This is a entirely separate setting, but it's in
Oh, in
the
reconcile.
reconcile. Yep.
Yes, yes. But in this one, there was one more, which in the deposits bank. Oh, receive payments. Okay, I don't need to demo that, but it's also receive payments. Now another one worth mentioning, and this might be another one of those niche things where some people will go, I don't see a reason why I would shift click in the reconcile window, but I know that there's some of you that will be mind blown by this, whether whether you actually use it or not. It's a different story, but shift clicking in reconcile could be a useful thing. Reconcile is more of a delicate process where you sort of hand selecting a few transactions or one at a time because you kind of understand what is happening. But let me just X out of here, and then we can see all the transactions. There might be situations where you want to select a group of them for whatever reason. Let's say I want to select 5 in one shot. So I click on this one, hold the shift click, hold the shift key, go down to the last one I want to do, click on that one, and a little batch thing happens, and it just clicks them for you automatically. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And then if I click on select all, it selects them all. If I click on select all one more time, deselects it. Standard QBO functionality. Again, I'm going to click on this one, hold the shift click on that, and all get selected automatically. I know what you're thinking. It's like, can I delete all the transactions that I shift click through? The answer is no, but it doesn't mean it's impossible that it will happen. It's just that in this screen, this screen is a little bit more delicate. More delicate. This is just a lot of weird things happening, but you do get shift click in the Pro edition. Again, worth mentioning that, um, of the register button. Okay,
And
let's
it
see.
does work a tiny bit differently than the other pages because, as you might have noticed, it was a little bit, I'm not going to say slow, but it was not instantaneous like the other screens were when you did the shift click. That's because
True.
the reconcile screen is weird.
It's quirky. Okay, so the last 2 things I'm going to show is um, a chart of accounts filter by type and show all accounts. This is the newest feature that we have, and the one previous to that is in bank feed, the pay history link. So I'm going to save and refresh, and I'm going to show you both of those. So first, I'm going to go into bank feeds first. Let's go into bank feeds, and then we'll show you what the pay history link does. And this is partially my creation, partially user feedback. And the user feedback is that this screen, the categorization history screen, it's useless to a lot of people. So because you got the 12 months rolling limit, because you can't see a location, because you can't see a class, this screen, although it's a great idea, many people agree that they end up not even going to it because they don't really see, the value. They don't really see a lot of value in it unless you're only doing categorization and that's it. So what we've done is, because we can't fix that screen, we've done something similar, which is if you select a payee here, whatever the payee here is, you select it. We added a little link here called payee history. And when you click on pay history, it takes you to a custom report that we built that shows us the history of all the transactions that vendor has ever had. Now, it happens to be that this vendor hasn't had any, and that's basically essentially what you're seeing here. But if I pick one that I know for a fact has had some, like a 7-Eleven, which is kind of my go-to um, fudge vendor to use for everything, and then I click on pay history, it opens up a new tab and runs the same report for 7-Eleven, and then it shows me all the history. Let me collapse that and collapse this. It shows me all the history of all the transactions that we've done for this vendor, and then the name here is at the end. You don't, I mean, this was a sort of a last minute request. People say, "Hey, I want to know the name," although you should have known it already, but it's up here for now. We want to fix it so the name shows up here in the top where it says 7-Eleven pay history. We'll work on that.
Yeah.
But for now, this is what you get. You get the history, and it's all broken down by account. So if some you paid with a credit card, some you paid with a bank account, you'll know exactly how these account has been used in the past. Now, I had someone suggests that instead of showing the pay history report, which is the default thought process I had, is that what they want to see is they want to see the vendor detail screen. So I would love to know and understand if you had a choice. Let me do 7-Eleven here. If you had a choice between a report that you can customize and you use it, or going straight into the screen, what screen would be better? And there are some filters here, but many people have told me they like the pay history report, but some people have told me, what if we can go here? The challenge with this screen, I believe, is that I might not have all the fields. Oh yeah, I have class and location, so I guess that could work. So it's something we can think about for future releases. Like, if do I want to report or do I want pay history? We'll
Interesting.
we'll look at that because we were thinking about doing this for a link straight from the register. I think it was a Bill's suggestion, right, Mark? That he wanted a link from the register window. They wanted to see like a vendor history.
Is it from
So
the? Oh yeah, yeah, from the register window.
yeah,
Gotcha. I
from
was
the
thinking
register.
my brain was still in bank mode, so I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
is that what it
So
was?
so So what we'll probably do is we'll probably add this link in the register and then kind of have people use both, vendor history from the register and pay history from banking, and then kind of decide from there. Or maybe we could do a toggle where you turn on pay history and you could choose whether or not you want to go to the vendor detail or to the report. That could be
Yeah,
interesting too.
it probably end up being a toggle because it seems like we've got actually surprisingly more people going for the vendor detail actually than the report, but we do have a split, so
Yeah,
we'll
I
probably
guess
make a
I get
setting for it.
could we add both? One that says report, I don't know, history
Yeah,
report slash vendor detail or something.
yeah,
Okay,
we could do that.
that could be it. Yeah, I see value on both. Totally value on both.
Yeah.
Reports are more moldable than these screens, but this is I find this to be a really interesting thing. Okay, and the last thing before we end it, and then Mark, if you want to show anything that's hasn't been released yet, I'll give you time, kind of, let's just call that overtime, but within the 1 hour, and that's my budget, can talk for more than an hour. It's the chart of accounts. So we did two things for the chart of accounts. One, and I'll give you some background. first thing that we did was give you the ability to choose how many accounts show up in default, right? So we had this tool in beta, and you could choose if you want 50, if you want 100, if you want 300. You can choose 500, you can choose 1,000. We actually figured out how to extend that. Or two, instead of just having you choose how many accounts you want to see at a time, we just have one button that says show all, and it'll figure out how many accounts you have. Even if it's beyond 300, you click on show all, and it'll calculate that, and it will basically show all of the accounts that are in your chart of accounts. And I know some people have more than 300 accounts in the chart of accounts. In this one, I happen to have 1,189. So it took like about a second or so for it to load. So now if I scroll down, I can scroll down forever and find the account that I want to find. Now, in combination, one part that I haven't tested yet, and I might as well do it here because we're amongst friends, is what happens with the jump to location and the expanded account. So if I'm going to go all the way down here and go to edit, and maybe I'll change the account. Okay, we're going to do 0.1 here and then click on save. Let's see what happens. Okay, so that does take me back to the beginning. That's standard QuickBooks Online behavior, but the show all, it's active, it's fixed, which is nice. So now I click on jump to last, and it'll find this straight for me. So you now have the ability to see your entire chart of accounts, and you don't lose your jump to last. It works perfectly, which is a beautiful thing. The second beautiful thing, and the one that really will impress you, is for a long chart of accounts, you can only show specific things that you want. So let's say I only want to see other assets. And then, you know, I normally have 1,200 accounts, but it only shows other assets. So I go to equity, it only shows me my equity accounts. Or if I click on expenses, it only shows my expenses accounts. Yes, this is in Pro only, by the way. This is we debated to make this free, but no. Jump to last, it's part of Jump to last is free, but extending it and filtering it is on Pro only. Because I know many people, when they're cleaning up chart of accounts, they kind of just want to see one thing at a time. And Mark, does this stick? Let me go to the balance sheet and then go to the
Uh,
chart.
oh, I'm
Let's,
almost sure it does.
okay, let,
Yeah,
let's let
I'd have to put in some kind of internal storage thing for that.
I'll
And I was
test
like,
it.
nah.
I'll leave and come back. Okay, so it doesn't stick. It doesn't stick. Okay, so we'll have to decide whether or not we can build the stickiness factor
I mean, we
on it. So
could. It's just a matter of, like, yeah, we could probably do it.
right. Okay. So again, I have to click on show all again and then do the filters. And the show all is essential to the filters because these filters don't work like the QuickBooks Online filters, like a search through the database. These filters only work through the screen. So it actually does a screen scan and it only shows that. So if you don't see, 1,200 lines, you only see 50 lines, and there's no equity accounts in that page, and I go and I do an equity filter, nothing will show up because it's not in that page. So you kind of have to keep that in mind, just because that's where we are. Now, I have a question here that says, can I delete more than one account at a time? So let me check something here really quick. I know the answer is no, by the way, so I'm just kind of brainstorming on how challenging that would be. So if I click on this account and I go to make inactive and I hit yes, there's a refresh on the screen. I wonder, Mark, is that if that refresh will stop us from being able to make multiple accounts inactive at a time. But I think, if I remember correctly, that's already built into software. Let me just make sure that I'm not bugging out here. Okay, there already is an ability to delete or inactivate more. So we don't have to do anything here. So Reba, so it's right here. It says batch actions. You can do one at a time. So we don't need to build in any additional
Yeah.
functionality. Okay, so it's been an hour exactly, so we're done. I'm gonna have some overtime. This will be only for our super fans that want to stay. Mark, I'm gonna give you controls, and if you want to share anything that we're working on version 1.0.10 and up. So let me stop sharing.
I actually have a few things that I want to show that are actually live.
I
Let's
did
see.
that I didn't cover.
Yeah, just two things really. Let's see. Maybe we need to put one. Actually, I think we did put it in the
I'm beating
details.
myself up for not showing. the new thing.
Well, one of them is I'll get into more of the detail of that
Yeah,
when we get there.
yeah,
My
yeah.
screen showing.
We can see your screen. Yeah.
So one thing, it's a small change, but something that we've recently updated, and I don't know if I have reports enhanced transactions turned on. 1 second. QBO user experience. This one. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, I have enhanced drill
and
down.
this isn't free, by the way. So
This is
just
free.
yeah.
So if I go to PayPal fees and then I edit something, or actually, it's only in the details, so my bad on that. But let's say I edit this account, and notice how I had to scroll all the way down there to get to whatever it was I was working on. We're going to change that and hope that it doesn't cause too much of a problem.
That's fine.
Actually, and I need to fix this because it's kind of doing some weird stuff recently. I don't know why.
But it just did it just did what you were trying to showcase.
Oh, well, no, sorry. It every once in a while it doesn't open in a new tab. I don't know why it's been doing that recently. But I will figure that out and put a fix out for it. But if I save and close this, this has been deposited. Okay, fine.
Just change the location.
Yeah. Let's see here.
The class or location. Just change
let's
something.
change the class.
Yeah.
Save and close. So now it will actually scroll back to the position you were at. I wish I could update this so it actually highlights it, but as you can see, it scrolled back to this position. So now you don't lose your spot whenever you're doing this. Yeah. So that's one thing that
it doesn't highlight it like jump to, but it does scroll you back in there.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one thing that should help. And yes, we will fix that one problem. And then the next thing is that we do have a new tab under here, which is unfortunate. Yeah, we have a new tab under here because I just made a video that said here's where you go to do feedback and questions and everything. Yeah. But we do now have this help tab, and now you can. It's a very basic feature at the moment, but you can export your settings. So it opens up a little window right here. You can just copy, and then if you want to import it, you just paste it into here and press import. Right, and so it'll give you a warning.
For some context, if you copy it and email that text to someone and say, "Hey team, here's the list of settings that I have. Do you want to override your RightTool settings with my RightTool settings?" Then that's what you would do. You would export, copy it, paste it in some email or a CSV file or doc or whatever, and then the other person just will paste it in there. And then the second one here is the favorite, so you could talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, and the favorites one is another one that people have been, and it's also good if you have like a problem with RightTool and you need to uninstall and reinstall for whatever reason, you can kind of have that copied and you can use it to kind of restore your settings. So one thing, I can just come over here and, I get rid of all of these favorites. I can come back over here and I already copied the favorites. And so I will now paste that into here, import, confirm. And if it's successful, it'll tell you. And then I refresh the page. And bam, all of my favorites are back to where they were.
And Mark, that overwrites, right? It doesn't append.
It doesn't add. No, it overrides. So, you might want to be a little careful with it.
So if you got some that you like in there and you import it, you're gonna lose the ones that you have. Now, what about for group favorites?
It does the same thing with the group favorites as well.
So that paste works with group favorites too.
Yeah. So if I come over here and I delete this or whatever,
that's cool. I like that people have been asking for that for a long time.